Well, congratulations on your third Emmy nomination.
Thank you, man. Yeah, no, it's a trip.
Very, very cool. How did you find out?
I found out, actually, it's funny, I found out the same way all three times. I woke up in the morning, like everybody else does. I rolled over, grabbed my iPhone, and got like a bunch of text messages and Instagram messages, and was kind of like, okay, what's this about? Clicked on it. And this year, actually, the first text message I read was from fellow nominee Mandy Moore, just saying congratulations. And I was like, Emmy nomination. And, there's always that feeling of like, wait, this can't be true. Like, you got to like see it for yourself. But I wrote back, I said, thank you so much. But I didn't even know she was nominated yet. So then I went online, found the website, saw it from my own eyes, and then saw that she was nominated and had to write her back as well and share the love. It's a pretty tight-knit community. We all very supportive of each other.
Yeah, and you guys tend to do very well in this category, and certainly this year.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
It's great. It's wonderful. I'm happy for all four of you.
Yeah, thank you.
So I'm curious. You grew up on the East Coast.
Yep.
As a teenager. Did your family make that move for you and for your future, or was this something that was already in play?
So my mom actually, she moved me and my sister across country just to kind of give us like better opportunity. Her and my dad had split up, so she and I was kind of living in this neighborhood where there just wasn't much going on. There was kind of a lot of people getting into trouble. My sister started acting up and getting in a lot of trouble. I was kind of going down this path of like, not having anything worth doing, so everybody started to get a little worried about me. So my mom just packed up a van, in a U-Haul truck with minimal stuff, and just kind of drove us across country to a one-bedroom apartment right in the heart of Hollywood. Like, she had no idea. She had no idea about anything. But she was actually originally from Van Nuys, but she was adopted and brought to Maryland as a baby. So she's always had a connection to California. Just wanted to get up there. Cool. And yeah, I think being in Hollywood, kind of affected me, and entertainment was just everywhere. And I lived right down the street from the Chinese Theater. And, then ultimately I ended up going to Hollywood High School, where everything really changed for me because I didn't even dance. If you would have told me when my mom moved me across country that I was going to be a dancer, I would have laughed in your face. Like, they were like, no way. And,
so you didn't move out to Hollywood to dance?
She just moved me out. No way. She moved me out just hoping I would find something. I'm sure she would have laughed at you if you told her I was going to be a dancer. So yeah, it was pretty gnarly. But then, it was Hollywood High School that changed my life. I ended up going there as a kid, and it was a performing arts magnet program that anyone could join. So I just signed up because my sister did. And then they, the first semester, they were like, well, what dance class do you want to take? And I was like, oh, I'm not taking dance. They're like, no, you have to. Yeah, and I was like, it's not going to happen. And then I fought them to the point where they told me, your only other option is to join the track team. So I fully joined the track team. And I was like, cool, made the team, refused to dance. And then it was that semester when my school did a production of West Side Story. And I didn't have a physical, so I couldn't compete on the track field. I wasn't even allowed on the field. So I just started ditching class every day to watch play rehearsal because my sister was dating the guy playing Riff, and he was like the coolest kid in the school. Long story short, I learned all the dances, learned all the songs. They asked the teacher if I could be in the musical. They were like, Mr. Golden was like, sure, can you sing? I showed him. He was probably like, no, you can't sing, but still, you get to be in the show. They put me in, and the rest is history. Next semester, they're like, all right, do you want to dance now? And I signed up for tap.
Wow.
Never stopped. Yeah, never stopped dancing since. I failed track, so that did. So for all the kids out there, don't ditch class.
Yes, that's a pretty big leap from I'm not going to dance class to I'm taking tap.
Yeah. No, it was crazy. I think, I don't know, I always wondered if it had something to do. My dad's a drummer, and I kind of connected to that. Like something about tap I really connected to. It was just like the rhythms, and I think too, for me back then, I saw a bunch of guys doing it, so I was a bit more comfortable to jump into it, because I think in my day and age, it wasn't as comfortable for guys to just start dancing, like, especially coming from sports. It's kind of that classic story of like, I play sports, like I can't be seen dancing, and then it's a new day now, and I think, So You Think You Could Dance has really done a lot to change that, and it's different now. You could be a male dancer, and you're just the coolest kid on the block. So.
Oh, absolutely. Dance as a visual sport for an audience has become really huge in the last decade, and thanks to definitely to So You Think You Can Dance and Dancing with the Stars and LXD and everything else involved with that. Yeah. What was the point that you would really call like your biggest break, though, from when you kind of took it from, I said, this is something I like, to, hey, this is something I can do for a living?
It was actually really close to when I started dancing. I feel like the luckiest kid in the industry. When I was in high school, it was 11th grade. So 2 years into dancing, Debbie Allen came to my high school and auditioned kids to be on the American Music Awards to open the show for Mariah Carey.
Yeah.
And I was one of 3 kids picked from my school, and she picked like 50 kids from all the like inner city schools. And I'll never forget being there. I worked for about 3 weeks of work. It was actually kind of intense. It was quite a lot of work for what we had to do, because it wasn't much. But I got my check for like $650, which was probably minimum wage when I think about it now. But back then, that was like insane to me. So now I had $650, and I was like, oh wow, I think I'm gonna do this. Like I think I can go with this and like make money dancing. Like this was very fulfilling to me when I was like in it.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. What how did you begin your transition from being a dancer to being a choreographer? Was it a natural progression or something that just kind of happened for you?
I think it kind of just happened, but I think there was a part of me that was very conscious about it, because I had been teaching dance classes. So I liked creating steps, but I wasn't really a choreographer at that point. Because the role of choreographer in the industry is very different. There's a lot more responsibilities than just the dance steps. And it was actually after Step Up 2, I was, again, very lucky. John Chu and Adam Savani started a dance crew from the movie just to kind of like jokingly battle Miley Cyrus on YouTube. And just as their friend, I was one of the people that they brought in, and I just kind of started choreographing a bunch of stuff. There was nobody set to choreograph anything. It was just kind of like free for all. We were just freestyling and dancing. And then I just kind of gravitated towards it and just started like, I remember grabbing these water bottles, and I started choreographing this little part with water bottles. So I think I always liked props. And then, and then we just, it just became this fun thing, and it blew up. So it became very exciting to choreograph, because then it was like, now the stakes were higher, because Miley started, all these celebrities got involved, like Channing Tatum, Diana Ross, Adam Sandler. I mean, it was like nuts. It was like back when YouTube was pretty brand new. And that's what built John Chu, the audience on YouTube, and the kind of online presence for him to want to create the LXD. And he came to me and Harry Shum, who kind of took the reins for the AC/DC, and offered us kind of opportunity to choreograph and help him develop the LXD. Yeah, it changed my life. I was on YouTube, online. I was very lucky to come up on that time.
And now I'm sure up and coming, kids that want to dance use YouTube as a tutorial.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's a new day. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. You're really, really adept at multiple dance styles, not just as a dancer, but as a choreographer. Do you kind of have a favorite of one, and is it different? Is your favorite different as a dancer versus as a choreographer?
Yeah, I think it's funny. I think I've always I've always had a special love for b-boys, for like break dancing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just when I was tap dancing on the street, I used to street perform on Street Promenade, and I just remember seeing b-boys, and I always just found it like so like beautifully like epic, and like I don't know, I just connected to it. It didn't look like a bunch of tricks and stunts like I think it does to a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
So I always connected to it and felt like it was very underappreciated. So it might not be my favorite, like I don't know if I could say it's my favorite like dance style period, because I think I just love all dance. Like anything that kind of moves me, I connect to. But there was something about it being underappreciated that when the LXD came up, as just a fan of a bunch of guys, I'm not a b-boy, like I don't break dance, but I started feeling like connected to it and started like really enjoying collaborating with the b-boys and creating combinations with them and coordinating them and unifying them. And it became very gratifying when we put it to like classical music, because, you know, I just knew that people weren't watching it the right way. Like there was a lot of like, I don't know, I feel like people just watch it as like a bunch of tricks. So one of the most gratifying things for me when we do LSD would be people would come up to me afterwards and be like, oh my God, that was so great. I've never seen, you know, b-boying look so beautiful. And I would always say, it kind of became my mission to say like, well, no, actually you have. You just didn't know. Like we didn't change the moves. We just changed the music so you watched it different. And they would go, oh, that's interesting. And so I really am proud when people can kind of understand that b-boying is a really beautiful art form, and it's right up there with ballet and contemporary. Just, you know, it should be more respected as like a higher art form than I think it is.
Yeah, one of the things that's really fascinating watching So You Think You Can Dance is that it's you know, so full of young people that have been, you know, dancing and in classes since like 3 years old. And, you know, they'll go up and be asked, you know, what classes have you taken, and they'll rattle off everything. And, you know, then you have the b-boys, and they don't go to classes. Everything they do is innate and learned. And how difficult or easy is that to choreograph and to learn? You can see it on the show. Sometimes it's difficult, but is there a connection though that you have with b-boys to help?
Yeah, I mean, I think just street dance in general, like it is kind of interesting. Like it's one of the styles on So You Think You Can Dance. Like So You Think You Can Dance is very telling in that world, because, you know, there's never going to be a routine for two contemporary dancers that have to learn like b-boying, because it's just not realistic for them to have to learn that in that time. So I think you can kind of get the difficulty level just by the reality that we can't even do it on the show in that aspect. Like it just, it's really tricky. Animating is another one where it's really hard to like teach people animating, you know, locking, all these styles that if you don't train them every day, like they're just, you know, I think the knowledge is just not out there for the studio dancers to be able to adapt. So we don't get to do it very often, you know, and I think I don't know. I feel like I connect to it. I think it's interesting that you brought up the fact that, like, you know, kids would go and train at the studio from like 4 years old. And, you know, the whole street dance is built around people that don't have the money to go to class. So it really becomes an art form and a dance style that, like, you have to you have to really want to do it, if that makes sense. It's not like an after school program. It's not something that you're going to get put into. Like, you go and find it as a street dancer. You go to your buddy's garage and you practice every day, you know, and as opposed to your mom dropping you off at dance class, she's probably wondering where you are and what you're up to, hoping that it's like, you know, you're not out getting into trouble. So it's a very different world, and it's kind of interesting. So I love when those two worlds come together, and So You Think is kind of been my favorite thing.
Yeah, it is for me too, and I'm glad you brought up music, because one of the things personally that I love about watching dance is when you can have music that goes with it that just further, you know, brings you in And I was curious if there's any piece of music that you really, really wanted but weren't able to get, and
yeah. Absolutely. I'm like almost like, how do you know this? Like, I feel like you know the answer to this already or something. I've always wanted to do Fast Car by Tracy Chapman. I know. And I've gotten denied here in the States. You got served here. And I was able to actually do it in Australia later, but it's not the same. Like, I think I just want to figure out how to do it in the States. I might just reach out to her myself and see if she'll approve it, because it's just a song. I mean, it's just hard to find songs where the storytelling and the lyrical content is just so powerful and moving and so, like, universal. Like, there's a really universal feeling there. And especially, I don't know, or maybe it's just I connect to it. It's very much my story. Like, a lot of the things that she says to me, I really connect to in that song. Like, the whole, like, mom moving away from your dad and, you know, him having health problems and, like, but, you know, and so it's very deep to me. But, yeah, it was a heartbreaker. When I got that call and they're like, oh, sorry, Chris, you've been denied Tracy Chapman's Fast Car. Like, oh. And there's even a cover of it. And I thought about going after it. I know, but I was just like, every time I listen to the cover, I'm just like, it's just not just, it's beautiful, but it's just not the same. It's something about I got to do her version one day.
Yeah. Oh my God, I would be front row for that. That would be really quite something.
Yeah.
So the live shows for season 15, So You Think You Can Answer, just started. Are we going to see some Christopher Scott numbers?
I am actually at the dance studio right now, waiting to start my rehearsal at 6:30 this Monday. So it's going down. I'll be on a couple weeks this season for sure. We're down to 6 live shows, so trying to get in. Yeah, trying to get a couple in.
Yeah, it's a different setup than previously. Oh, good. I'm excited for that. Something the show does that I like a lot too is having the dancers recall their first live stage appearance. So I want to ask, what was yours? Yeah,
mine was West Side Story at Hollywood High School when I snuck my way into the cast, and they ended up putting me in the Jets. I'll never forget. They took it very serious. There was a very intense theater at Hollywood High School is quite intense. They took it. They jumped me in the gang, like, jokingly. Obviously they didn't hurt me or anything, but you know, they made a whole thing about it. They gave me a name. My character's name was Cue Ball. They would, like, hype me up every show. They were all very supportive of me just being this kid, kind of falling into their team, and you know, that might have been the thing too that helped push me forward and made me fall in love with theater and entertainment in general.
Oh, that's great. What do you think that the next evolution of dance is going to be? Is it going to be just new styles or the merging of styles? What is your thought on that?
Yeah, I think a bit of both. I think, you know, we're definitely seeing a lot of people merge styles, you know, and I think, you know, there's a lot of, you know, I'm finding a trend in, like, hip hop, and like contemporary kind of merging for, like, these duets, you know, and So You Think You Could Dance, I think, has a big part of that. Yeah. You know, played a big part in that. And then, you know, I think as the movement goes, I'm looking forward to the next style. Like, I just know one's going to come up. I think every time we think, like, all right, we've maxed out, we've done as much movement. Like, when crumping came out, you know, I was amazed. Like, it really drew me in, and I was a big fan of it. And I used to, like, go down to jams and, like, watch people, or sessions they would call them, and I would watch and just be, like, amazed. And I think a lot of people thought it was just going to phase out, like, be a fad. And I just watched these people, you know, tie-dyes being the you know, kind of the driving force behind Crump, the kind of creator of Crump. You know, I watched this guy with people, there's people helping and supporting, but I'll just never forget seeing this kind of leader just create a foundation for it and then go and spread it to the world. I mean, he just travels the world and teaches it. And now when I travel and I see people, like I see the tie-dyes training in all of them. So I'm just kind of like, waiting for the next tie-dyes to evolve and to arrive. And, I can't wait. Like for me, it's like, I'm just so curious. And I think it does it every day. Every day is evolving. Right now, it's kind of these party dances. We're kind of back to that world. Like it used to be in the 90s, like there was all these party dances. And then now with YouTube passing along all these like, Kiki, do you love me? And my feelings challenge and all that stuff, like it's becoming kind of the same thing. And I think, I used to hate on them. I used to hate on those dances a little bit because, it's, we work so hard technically to like be good dancers and to like be at a high level. And then these dances come out that everybody can kind of do. And then they get watered down and then they get like this. But I think like a few years ago, I'll never forget seeing a group of kids like on the corner blasting music and they were dancing. And then this like old guy drove up at a stoplight, stopped his car, like put his head out the window and started and doing their dances, kind of like the little hit them first. He was like, yeah. And these kids lost their mind. And they're like, hey. And they shared this really beautiful moment at a stop sign that, without these dances, these worlds would have never crossed. And I think it was a really beautiful thing. And from that day on, I'm like, I have a new love and respect for these kind of trendy dances that are popping up every day.
Yeah. It's one of the great things about So You Think You Can Dance and is as a viewer is seeing all of these new styles, especially in the auditions, and it's incredibly exciting. It's such a great exposure for everybody.
Absolutely, yeah, really.
What advice would you have for any young dancers that aren't just automatically shipped out to Hollywood high school?
Yeah, I honestly, part of me is like, just find your way to Hollywood. Like, just figure it out. It's just that, or you know what, or just create your opportunity in your town. There just isn't that much opportunity, but we have YouTube nowadays, and I didn't have that when I was a kid, so utilize it. People are becoming famous dancers these days. It's like it's a new day. There's a new power in social media and in online streaming, and so just like bust your ass, I guess what I would say. Like it's not easy being a top dancer in the world. To just, if you want to be that one, like give it everything you have. Like it's tough sometimes because there's not as much glamour attached with dancing, for example, as there is acting. But it's so many more kids every day just dancing.
Yeah.
It's like, just fight your way to the top. Like, don't settle. Like, treat dance with a lot of respect and like push dance forward. I think that's what we need. We just need people to like keep pushing dance forward, and you have to believe that you can be one of those people.
I love it. I love that. Chris, thanks so much for chatting with me today. I'm just really, really pleased to be able to get to talk to you. And good luck next month at the Emmy.
Thank you, man. Yes, thank you, man. Thank you for taking the time. I love how passionate you are about dance. It's really it's a big deal for us. So thank you.
Yeah, I can't wait until Monday.
Yeah, man.
All right.
Awesome.
Have a good weekend.
Thanks, man. You too.
Bye.
Bye.
I met you in the dark, you lit me up, you made me feel as though I wasn't up. We danced the night away, we drank too much, I didn't know that I was ready for love. Then you smiled over your shoulder, for a minute I was stone cold sober. I pulled you closer to my chest.